The governor of New Mexico has decided that the constitutional right of New Mexicans to keep and bear arms would be done away with in the name of a public health emergency because of significant gun-involved violence in the Albuquerque area in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's gotten a surprising amount of backlash from both sides of the political spectrum, but we really need more like her, though, and let me explain as we dig in. Also, real quick, really been hammered by the YouTube algorithm, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and comment down below. Let me know what you think about the videos. It all really helps. And don't forget about our Rumble channel as well. One of the reasons that we need more people like this crazy governor of New Mexico is that we need people like this to push us to wake up. People want to stick their heads in the sand and pretend that this could never happen in America while it is literally happening right in front of us. And the more forward and the more crazy and the more gun grabbing or whatever the case might be that these tyrants are, the more it puts us in front of our faces and keeps us from being able to ignore it. We sit back and we do nothing and we whine and complain on social media and all those sorts of things. Of course, we say, oh, we might donate even to a legal group that's trying to stop them, right? But we don't really do anything. We probably don't even talk about it with our friends, except for maybe the people that we know agree with us. So we need people like this to push us, to get us to get off our lazy rear ends and to get us to man up and do what needs to be done to stop this tyranny. It might seem like a little wild to say you need people like this, but certainly being prosperous and happy hasn't pushed us to do what we need to do. They make this issue unignorable. Tyrants like this make this issue unignorable, and that is so important for Americans to wake up and do what needs to be done instead of sitting back and trying to let everyone else do their job for them. There's another side of this too. If we refuse to stand against tyrants like this, like the governor in New Mexico, and there's all sorts of other examples, even here in Kentucky, we have our own homegrown little tyrant governor. If we refuse to stand, the good thing about people like this is that we'll get what we deserve. If we allow our comfort and our prosperity and our laziness to overcome us, we deserve tyrants like this as punishment for our own lack of morality and courage and individual responsibility. If we don't live up to the heritage of our forefathers, we don't deserve the freedom and the privileges that they fought and died for. That's the long and the short of it. Honestly, it's concerning to me from what I was reading how little pushback, real pushback there is on an individual level. There's a lot of talk, and there's certainly legal challenges to this, but at the end of the day, no one's really doing much other than a few lawyers or a few interest groups trying to put a stop to it. A few law enforcement said they wouldn't enforce it, but others either hum-haw around about it and won't really say one way or the other or openly support it. Where's the American people taking a stand against this? Let's not forget that way back in 1774, I had to think about that for a second, when the war really got off to a start, it was because the British government sent soldiers to seize armories, militia armories, and to arrest political dissidents. That's what's going on here. We've seen the arrest of political dissidents before, and we sit back and we do nothing. Look at January 6th. They said no. The average person said no and put a stop to it. Either freedom is worth fighting for, or you will be slave to tyrants. It's as simple as that. And this is the kind of thing we need to force us to make that decision. There's one other interesting takeaway that I want to make today. These kind of issues, these kind of questions, news stories bring up the question of nullification, because that's really kind of the issue. The New Mexico governor is basically saying that, and they try and claim it's not about the Constitution, that it's about the state laws that are already on the books, but it brings up the question of the state laws in and of themselves and some things like that. It brings up the question of nullification. Can a state decide that they're going to nullify or ignore certain parts of the Constitution? That was a theory promoted by statesmen in South Carolina a few years before the war between the states. I believe it had popped up a little bit before that, but South Carolina really tried to push it. There's a whole big story with that actually is a very interesting episode in American history. But again, it basically purports that individual states have the right to nullify any part of the Constitution as they see fit. Now, this has been a long-standing debate, but without getting to specifics, what this does, aside from the specific question of nullification or what rights do the state have, it does bring up more questions of sovereignty, of state sovereignty, of federal authority and the limits of federal authority, and the very nature of the Constitution, all back into the limelight. And frankly, with as little as is actually known about the Constitution, about the questions that wars were fought over in this country, and that much debate and much conflict, we'll say, not always violence, but much conflict happened with, we need to look back at it again, because that stuff isn't talked about. And honestly, most people are really ignorant about it. So these kind of news stories, these kind of events happening in our own backyard give us a great opportunity to start bringing these discussions back up, to study it ourselves and to know what we believe and that sort of thing. So I hope that you found this episode interesting. If you like what we do at the Kentuckian, don't forget the social media that we have. Don't forget the merchandise store. And if you'd like to support me in a more personal way, my Patreon is also linked in the description below, as well as the other things that I've mentioned. And remember, friends, as long as you and I are doing what's right, we make a real difference in this old world. And Ryan Dalton of the Kentuckian, signing off.